Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, January 10th, and this is the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area, and we'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here, March corn unchanged at 456. March soybeans were up 3 at 10.02, and March Chicago wheat was down 3 at 531. Weekly export sales were released this morning, pretty poor across the board here. Corn came back 445,000. The low end of the estimates were looking for 700,000. Soybeans 288,700. The low end was 400. Wheat sales 111,300. 150 was kind of the lower end there. Meal sales got closer to the low end of the range, 144,900, and solid oil sales at 34,600. Good morning, guys. We busy day today. We got USDA report out at 11. We continue to hear rumblings of some guidance on the 45Z and what's going to happen there. We've seen another rally here early this morning in bean oil. So, Justin, maybe a few thoughts to take us out this morning, throw it around the room, and wrap up the week here.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, I think, last couple episodes. Talked about yesterday for sure. Soybean oil has been a really volatile one. A lot to do with government policy and makes it really tricky. So funds have gone from big longs to big shorts. Really big volatile moves between meal and oil, and trying to figure out how this renewable diesel and policy and aviation fuel, how all these things are going to play out. Soybean oil got to the point where it got to, we've talked about this a lot on the show, but, priced as used cooking oil. I think more and more is coming out with, how much this used cooking oil was really just some palm oil that they put a little bit of used cooking oil in and got these huge credits. And I wouldn't be surprised if eventually there's some kind of a investigation or settling up from the amount of subsidies that were paid out, and, billions of pounds a year of these products that really hurt our market, for all the investment that we've made in this sector. So I think it's taken a long time, but it should be fixed. There's, rumors that guidance will come out as early as today. Problem with that is they're not going to finish it. So to give some guidance, but the final, rulings or policy will be set by the Trump administration. So there's still going to be a lot of volatility in this. I think we just pushed the beach ball underwater, so to speak, on oil too far. When it was priced as the cheapest oil in the world, we just exported another big number. I think today they're going to raise oil exports again. It's a really tight balance sheet. So I think we're gonna pay for using all this feedstock around the world. You've seen policies in India, Malaysia, Brazil. All these countries are increasing their biodiesel demand in general. So I just think it's a really good story, medium to long term. You got to get through some of these hurdles with U.S. policy changing of the guard and seeing how all these things play out. But yeah, big volume overnight. Nearly 45,000 contracts of oil is a lot for this time of year, a lot for any time of year overnight, and especially going into a report. So I think there's some big positioning going into these kind of things. Makes sense. I think exports make sense that they're getting weak here, as we've talked about. So it'll be interesting today. Obviously, one of the big three reports of the year. So a lot can change. We have to see what the numbers say.
Sure. Ben, what's on your mind this morning?
Tremendous amount of data comes out today. Multiple categories where they can make changes. I think it's going to be probably a pretty wild minute or so right after the numbers come out and people get a chance to go through it. Anyone's guess on reports, never a hill that I would like to die on personally. I think looking forward, we've seen, poor shipments the last couple of weeks. You can write that off for the holidays. Poor export sales today. And I think we're going to start to get a picture in the next 3 to 5, 6 weeks if our demand was in fact front loaded. And I think that's been a pretty contested topic. Methodically is the way that the Mexicans normally purchase corn, and they bought a lot early. So, I think we eventually, in order to hit some of those USDA numbers, we could back it up pretty quick with continued weak sales and shipments. So get through the report, see where we re-land. Hopefully there's a little bit more activity in these markets after this report, and move on, head into crop insurance pricing, get a better picture of where our risk is at on new crop, and go from there. We got a lot of things to get through, especially with the corn market, and then you have you've got a bean market here that I think still feels vulnerable to the downside. So how far can we stretch that corn bean, even if some corn stuff is supportive? I don't know.
Yeah, very good. Dustin, what's on your radar for the report here today? I'd say, what are the couple of the biggest things you're really looking at?
Yeah, anything goes for reports, right? So, what they come out with for final yield is the question, and where stocks are. So, like I've said, I don't want to, beat the dead horse too much here, but it can really be a couple 100 million bushel swing in either direction. I think the biggest surprise to the market would be is if it was to the upside on stocks. So just kind of keep that in mind for risk. To that point, though, if it goes the other way, which again, I really am like a 50-50. I really don't want to try to outguess the USDA. There's been a lot of bullish cues going into this report. If we start falling in like that sub 12 billion bushel stocks number, it's the other way too. So I'd say take this nice 10-12% rally off the lows, and do what we need to do to kind of bring yourself down to 1 year's of crop risk, in my opinion. At the moment, there's probably a number of people out there that are sitting with a bunch of corn in the bin and not much hedge for 2025 yet. And that could be a precarious spot if they find a 12.35 carry, D1 stocks number. That would be, in my opinion, a 20-25 cent drop today. So, but like I said, it's report day. There's a reason why we're all gathered to talk about it. It's really is the USDA is the boots on the grounds to tell us what we have for stocks.
I think one of the things I like about this report too, it's not just the stocks number and final yield. It kind of sets the stage for the next crop, because let's say the yield came in down 2 bushels. That changes everybody's forward projections of what next year's yield potential is, what the actual trend is. We had really good weather. So, what this yield ends up being kind of shapes what those balance sheets start to form for next year, what acres need to be. So it has a compounding effect. I think that's why it's one of the reasons it's such a big report.
Very good point. Now, just kind of reiterating, like if all things are at where we've been projecting in the WASDs and lower, right? If all the analysts are correct and we really are going to look at like a 165 carry out, we still have to get through the South American production season, second season, corn crop. If there's any sort of hiccup there in production, corn is not necessarily going to escape, potential bull market this year. In that case, the world still needs the U.S. to produce a pretty big corn crop, 93+ million acres. And I think you're going to need to see the price incentives to make that happen still, if that were the case.
Well,
Justin, go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
I think Justin brings up a good point too. Like if it does come in and it's a little tighter, and you look back, we tend to have that recency affiliation with things that we think about. It might give us a little bit more of an open mind if we run into any weather issues anywhere in corn, which have really been sort of dispelled the last 2 crop seasons. And then the next thing I look at in corn is, okay, if it does come out and it's friendly, Dustin made a great job on the report talking about, discussing corn and soybean acres. Well, if beans are unchanged or, within a nickel of settlement and corn is 10, 15, whatever it is higher, I would think that becomes a lot clearer picture, and there should be a tremendous amount of corn, both on the new crop and the old crop, to be sold between, call it 60 and 75, 60 and 80, or it should be. It may not be in there today, but even if you're talking about getting 10, 15, 20% of your new crop sold, I would think that there should be plentiful offers up above once we settle in.
Yeah, that'll be that'll be interesting. You know, you run these numbers and you have to get pretty creative to make it profitable.
Yep.
You know, you kind of have to, I'll say the right term, but pretend that you're going to get record yields and you're going to catch a carry and you're going to, you know, do all this creative marketing things to get there. So it'll be interesting. Turns, you know, we've talked about this a lot on the show over the last year, but turns in these markets are really tough. And when you have a new set of data that comes out, it takes time to digest what this all means. So that, again, that's why I love these reports, because it can totally change the market's mentality, your mentality, good or bad. So sometimes the initial gut reaction, it takes time to kind of think what it all means. It could be a dud. It could be a dud as well.
Well, right. I hope not. I hope not.
Well,
We like stuff that moves around, you know. Justin, any reason in your mind for, you know, some sort of a shock to come out of South American production and alter numbers given weather and things that have taken place down there?
You know, historically, government's pretty slow. You know, maybe I wouldn't think so, but, you know, maybe they shave Argentina a little bit. You know, maybe they raise Brazil a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, they got
Brazil's been pretty great weather. You know, there's been some areas been too wet, too dry, but overall it's been a really good growing season for them. Argentina's recently turned hot and dry, so I'm not so sure they're going to go get super aggressive. Now the crop conditions have been going down in those regions that have been dry, you know, pretty dramatically. So maybe they cut. I doubt it's going to be a really drastic cut, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. The average guesses have Argentina corn down a half and or 500,000, and Argentine beans down 0.1. So yeah, very small.
Yep, I would agree with that probably.
Okay, very good. Let's transition here real quick. We got a couple of minutes here. Ryland, was one tough day for cattle, and then it was right back to status quo there in the cattle markets, and nice to see hogs honestly have a good session as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just a roller coaster right now. I think everybody wants to get all excited because cash trade on the cattle side of things, $5 higher in the north, seeing 320, live sales 203 to 205. So like these are just massive record high numbers here. So the board reacted accordingly. So again, the trade's still long. We are in the midst of the roll. We're seeing, you know, we're going to see quite a bit of volatility probably for the next week. We've got, you know, obviously some weather premium that we'd like to establish kind of in the back, you know, a little bit further out here. So, you know, and we'll see. Maybe we get some news on the WASDE report that kind of supports that or takes it away. Hard to say either way, but right now the market's really focusing on the near-term factors, just, you know, tight supply. Packers continue to pay higher prices. Beef is much higher. So, you know, these prices are so big, we worry that at some point you're going to start to ration demand here to some degree, just from where we're starting off. So we'll see how it goes. But right now, there just isn't any bad news on the cattle side of the market. As far as hogs go, yeah, you had that nice gap higher. It's pretty much the highest level February's gotten since December 30th, but still pretty heavy liquidation here. Open interest was down 4,300 contracts. So we're still seeing the managed money liquidate. And we really didn't see too much change yesterday as far as cash cut out, that kind of stuff. Just kind of, you know, cash was down 38 cents. Carcass was up $2. So just kind of a mixed bag of fundamental data. So overall, just kind of felt like we were running into that area where we were hitting just some chart support. So we'll see if it continues. But right now, I think we'd need to see a little bit more out of the meat side of things, see if we can get prices a little bit higher to really kind of stabilize it. So we'll be looking for that and maybe look to see if there's any kind of surprise on the WASDE that gets us a little excited about production.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at history, right, when you have super high cattle prices and cheap corn prices, that doesn't usually last that long.
Right. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Our corn price is cheap relative to where cattle's at right now. It's kind of an interesting determination. So, I mean, like, it just feels like, you know, we're in this kind of supply bull market and demand bull market. So it feels like just, you know, you're going to take out some of the highest prices we've ever seen before in this market. So, right. You know, it's just more of the same, really. I think just overall we've got a ton of data coming at us in the next 2 weeks. Cattle on feed, cattle inventory. It's a lot that's going to set big precedents for the trade for the next year, especially the inventory report or at least until we get to June. But right now, I mean, you can tell anybody that's been trying to buy feeders right now has had a really tough time. They're paying record high prices. The feeder cattle index just hit a record high price at 275 yesterday. So the buying just hasn't stopped. It's a complete spree. So once that stops, I don't know where it goes.
That's worth its price in gold, right?
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more from Ryland next week.
Sure.
It's thanks, Ryan. It's Friday. It's best time of the week. Fun fact Friday. Brian, what do you got for us?
Thanks, Dan. Happy Friday, everybody. Yeah, it's been so cold and icy around here, it might as well be called Iceland. So that's where our Friday fun fact will be going to, an unusual story out of Iceland back in 2012. During a sightseeing trip, the group got off the bus to see the canyons and volcanoes of the southern region of Iceland. During this excursion, a woman decided this would be a perfect time to kind of break away from the group to freshen up and change clothes. So as they all got back from the excursion, that's when the confusion began. People that were sitting around here thought there was a person missing. So they told the bus driver. The woman in question didn't even recognize the description of her. So the bus driver waited an hour. Still no one showed up to the bus, which led to a call to the police, which led to about 50 people, including the woman in question, searching for this missing person.
Is she a senator?
Yeah, right.
I know her.
Yes, very much so. It could be. But the Coast Guard was also informed, but they could not take off because of the fog. So the search continued to about 3 a.m. when the woman in question, I think, finally realized, I think they were searching for herself. She told the bus driver, and the search was ended. So I think the motto of this story is probably have a head count before you guys head out on an excursion. And I think this would have been solved pretty quickly. And then I think going further, Iceland's new motto should say, "Come to Iceland and find yourself."
Nice.
I like it.
Attaboy, Brian.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Never disappoints, Brian. Oh, man. Good stuff, buddy. A couple of things to point out here before we go. USDA report, 11 Central. We will be back with a bonus war room, 11:15. We'll talk about the numbers, give you our reactions, and take you into the weekend there. So be sure to tune in 11:15 to get all the report numbers. Quick rundown of the markets here. We just opened March corn's up 3/4, 456 3/4. March beans up 4 3/4, 1003 3/4. And March Chicago wheat's down 2.5 at 531 1/2. Appreciate everybody that tunes in on a daily basis. If you wouldn't mind, throw us a like and certainly subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to do so. It'll keep you up to speed on everything that's going on with AgYield. We are doing this every day that the markets are open, streaming live on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, 8:15 Central Time. Appreciate the thoughts and comments here this morning, guys. It was a good show. We will be back 11:15 Central Time. Until then, we'll talk to you again.
The War Room is proudly presented by AgYield. For over 50 years, the AgYield team has provided grain marketing and risk management solutions for growers across the country. Our veteran consultants harness cutting-edge technologies to pinpoint risk, optimize market performance, and protect your farm's profitability. Discover a new approach to farm revenue management at agyield.com.
Hey guys, Jack here. Be sure to support the show by hitting the like button, leaving us a comment, and subscribing to the channel for all the latest updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.